saying that last Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again, my friend, to a Monday morning podcast. We've been gone for a minute with getting 2 episodes, but now we're back because nobody knows. Monday and Wednesday is the new schedule because everyone said that motherfucking shit's just better. Whew. That was better than Drake's whole album. Bars, shots fired. Bra, bra, bra. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. Welcome to Monday, okay? We know we coming in hot on a Monday, and I'm coming in for pause. No homo, okay? That's a little throwback term. Yes, homo, okay? Everybody can be a little homo every now and then. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Drake's new album. Honestly, Nevermind is the name of the album. There's so much low-hanging fruit in the punchline itself when you say, honestly, never mind. It's as if Drake said, honestly, never mind, I don't want to do a real album, as soon as they press record on the first track. Okay, listen. I'm someone, have I given it a whole listen through? Yes. Was there a lot of skipping? Yes. Okay, listen. It almost sounds like, and I'm someone who loves Drake, Drizzy, ever since I Can Make It Bedrock, his first mixtape. What was it? I forget. But it was great. Say What's Real. I fucking love that track. It still holds up. Drake is such a talented person. Triple threat in every sense of the word. Okay. Very talented individual. It feels like this album was almost like an improv album of, it sounds like someone creating a bunch of Drake songs for ringtones. It's like you took a goldfish. Do you remember that episode of Family Guy where they had the manatees, or of South Park, I'm sorry, when they were saying that we had a stroke. When South Park was saying that Family Guy was written by manatees that would just drop jokes in randomly, it didn't really make sense. That's what this album kind of felt like. I did a skit just saying that Drake was just picking words off Pinterest to rap about things. And like, give me a topic. And he would just start rapping in it. Something that was like a catalyst for talking about this girl thing. It wasn't that. It's very surprising because I don't get it. It's like he's done this before where he drops a rap album and then he'll just drop almost like an R&B album with not much rapping. I'm here for the rapping. Okay, it is what it is. I think there's one song on there that's actually rapping. We got 21 Savage just throwing that whole track on his back and fucking moving it forward. It's so weird to hit such a level and then to put out an album like that. And maybe for some people, they love the fucking album. But your boy, man, I tried working out with it. I tried putting it on. That's like one of my favorite things to do with a new album is to give it the gym test. You just throw that album on and you just get to work. You can get in the zone. You can really listen to it. There's the car test. There's like that initial, you're just listening to the songs while you're doing stuff. It's just, I love, that's one of my favorite things to do with new music. Back in the day, I'll never forget this. It was I don't know which Eminem album it was. It was when I was editing a music video. I had just finished up editing at like 3 a.m. Eminem's album leaked online, and I literally downloaded it, probably on LimeWire or something. I download the album, and I just turn everything off. And just in the middle of the night, I put the big headphones on. I'm very, I like to make things into what the fucking word I'm looking for? Can I phone a friend on this? I like to create an environment, ceremonial. I like to create a stage for moments. Put the headphones on, lay there, and just listen to the whole thing. And listen to the Eminem album. It was just banger after banger. And I fucking love those moments. I put this Drake album on, giving it the gym test. I'm lucky I didn't black out and end up in a bathtub of chamomile. Okay? Just chamomile lotion. Like I didn't just wake up as if like, when people in the Matrix, they wake up and they're like in a fucking weird jelly liquid and I'm just in chamomile and lavender lotion with candles all around me. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? And they're like, Evan, you blacked out listening to Drake's new album. Because that's what it felt like. If you were wine testing Drake's album and you were just like, yeah, it's very oaky. Spruce, some lavender undertones. What is that? Hollister? Forever 21. Yeah, like you're picturing the scents. You could probably actually smell paprika. I don't know. That last one was a stretch. But it just, the album isn't good to me. It's not for me. And that's what I'm realizing in life and getting older. There's songs that I'm just like, it's not for me. It's for someone. There's so many fucking people on this planet. Entertainment is not what it used to be at all. And this is something that's really fascinating to me. And I love it. While I do think we're on the verge of a nuclear war and the end of civilization, it's a great time to be a niche, to have your audience. And that's what's being created, is things are almost being cultivated more because there's so many different things for different people. Like there's some people who are like, this album's the greatest album of all time. It might just be Drake, but they're out there. But it's like you can niche down for a specific audience, and we have that ability for people to make music for their audience. You can actually find the stuff that you like the most because it's not being controlled by just radio play and, television and movies. Like, isn't that dope that now we don't have A&R guys who are just like completely controlling the radio flow, and we can actually get music and people can have an audience of people that will support them so they can keep doing what's truly them. Not to get all artsy fartsy on you guys, but I think that's great. But with this album, still, I got to go back in on it. I don't think it's just not for me. It feels like repetitive songs over and over and over again. Like there was no construct of an album. It felt like a compilation of songs like Passion Fruit that just fucking, I don't know. It was just a medley, a blend of songs that were all interchangeable. There was no real thing going on. It was just Drake doing his, oh, and then doing like clever Starbucks girl quotes, It just, I don't know. It just wasn't for me. Anyway, let's move on. I'm very excited right now. I have some pretty big things in the work right now that I'm not going to be talking about yet. I'm going to be figuring it out and seeing what goes on. But the podcast and the whole idea of it could be growing quite a bit. And just a lot more opportunities, things coming up that we're going to figure out. Very exciting stuff. But yeah, just wanted to hint at that. So then one day we go back and we're like, oh, that was the first time he mentioned that. Wow. Speaking of things that are happening, this is going to be me going in on another thing. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to I'm Going In Monday. Okay, because a couple things happened over the weekend. Drake dropped an album. I was very excited about it. Okay, he's dropping an album on midnight. I'm here for it. And then Game of Thrones announces that they're doing a Jon Snow sequel. A Jon Snow sequel. We just talked about Game of Thrones recently because I'm still not fucking over it. Okay? What Game of Thrones did at the end of that series was the most disrespectful fumble at the finish line that I've ever seen in my goddamn life. That show was the most genius, interwoven storylines, fucking peaking up to the greatest climax. I'm talking eyes rolling back, a sprinkler system. That they set them up perfectly. And then they got, George R. R. Martin? They got ahead of the books, and then they just started shitting in the pasta. Just fucking shit, meatballs and sausage all over that story. They were lazy. They just wanted to fucking push it through. And this is what I would say to their face. Dude, the showrunners and the writers, I'll say this to your goddamn face all day long. I'm going to say something very bold. I could write a better ending to Game of Thrones than they did, okay? Because it's not like they had a budget that they were like, oh, let's just not worry about, that was some of the most frivolous wasting of money. It was all in the storyline that you guys fucked it up. The part that doesn't cost money as much. The sets, these action scenes that you guys did. So much money. But you just came up with the dumbest ending to that show. And now you think I'm just going to let you just make another sequel with Jon Snow? Think I'm just going to let you sit there and kill me, Jon? Okay? No. This doesn't work that way. And here is the only way that I'm going to allow this, Game of Thrones, HBO, if you're watching. It can't be the same showrunner. It can't. You have to go back to the books. That's what made this so genius. You got to bring in Mr. Martin, okay? I really hope his name is Martin, okay? Because I'm going to look like a blubbering idiot. And who am I? Let me just Google this real quick. George R. Martin. Yeah, it is. Looking like a fucking Deadliest Catch grandfather, okay? George R. Martin. Genius. The greatest thing with Game of Thrones, I feel probably the greatest twist of all time in a TV show was Hodor. I was watching that in my bed. I get up and grab my head and go, holy shit. At that moment, the Hodor twist, where you find out how he got his name, that is the most insane foreshadowing ever. Like, there's been nothing that's ever done that better. I thought The Sixth Sense, him being dead at the end of the movie, was like one of the greatest twists. Sorry. That doesn't hold a candle to the Game of Thrones twist of Hodor holding it. I don't even want to spoil it, because if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, those first seasons are magical. It's only up till half of the last season, maybe in the whole last season, that they just completely shit in the bed. They just Amber Heard all over that fucking series. It ruined it. So I'm actually wondering, I'm interested in this. I'm interested in the prequel of Game of Thrones. If they're gonna, like, what that is gonna be like. I think it would be impossible for them to have put their head under sand and not taken into account everybody's feelings about the Game of Thrones finale. I really hope there's no showrunners that were involved in Game of Thrones being part of the prequel and the sequel. Because honestly, they weren't passionate about it. I forgot who was on a flight with the showrunners of Game of Thrones, and they were so over it. They were talking about it while they were still in it. They were like, yeah, afterward, like the person like asked them like, man, what's it like being part of such a great show like this? And they were like, ugh, it's terrible. I never want to do another show with a horse again. And they were like talking about it and everything. And it's like, it was kind of almost foreshadowing of how fucking their hearts weren't in it. They weren't passionate, because it felt like they rushed through that last season. But I am interested to see what we could do with a sequel. You know, it would be amazing if they actually explored Jon Snow. Like, maybe the end of Game of Thrones isn't really the end, and we get the ending that we all wanted. The story moves forward. That was just a blip in the storyline of Jon Snow, which would be great, because It would be great to see Jon finally actually be a Targaryen and not just like oust himself out. There's that dragon that's still out there somewhere, right? Well, he should be riding that dragon. That dragon should just show up and be like, hey, you're my fucking father. Let's go do dragon and son things, or dragon and father things. But yeah, that would be great. They killed off so many storylines in it. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not into Game of Thrones, I apologize. That really just irked me. Something in the news. Internet Explorer shuts down for the last time. Internet Explorer, the first. Was it AOL that first had Internet Explorer? Do you remember how different life was with AOL dial-up using Internet Explorer, LimeWire? Okay. LimeWire was the craziest thing because you would just download so many viruses not knowing what you were getting into. You would just trust that you were actually downloading Spider-Man 1, You would actually just be like, well, we're just risking it for the biscuit that this is actually going to be good, fellas. Just all this stuff. I remember one time, this is probably the worst thing ever. It scarred me as a kid. Downloading on LimeWire. Listen, your boy was a boy on the budding verge of the internet, and am I typing in shit like titty balls? Yeah, I didn't know how the internet worked back then. Okay. I remember I wanted the email address ratfink. Okay. And I didn't get it. AOL generated me an email and it was rat1alert. That was just my email. I don't know why I picked it. Well, it was just suggesting. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And then I started emailing ratfink@aol.com, threatening them. And since I didn't know, I would literally just write, you better watch out. I would write these emails as a little kid. And then I would make up another email address and put it in the CC, thinking that it showed that it was coming from them. I just thought C meant it's coming from them, not me. So then I would CC piggydiggy@aol.com. That Piggy Diggy sent that to ratfink@aol.com in hopes that Ratfink would get so scared from this email that he would just go, I don't want this name anymore. It goes up to public auction. Rat1alert swooping through. Now I'm Ratfink. Why did I want the name Ratfink? I don't know. It was a childhood nickname given to me that I gave to my pet rats. I think because I had a pet rat, I wanted the name Ratfink for it. Anyway, Ratfink had a wife, Ratfinka. Okay, brilliant names. Ratfinka died in childbirth, giving birth to 47 baby rats. Okay, listen, that's a coffin I don't want to start unscrewing. Okay, nailed that one deep down, dark inside of me. Okay, but let's get back to this story. When I was a kid, I wasn't a kid. I was probably getting closer to the teenage years. It'd be weird if I was 4 years old. Trying to find titty balls on LimeWire. Anything to show me a titty ball. Okay, I'm trying to learn about life. There was this video titled Girl and Her Best Friend, and it was an 18 plus or something. And I'm like, hey, I'm definitely 18 plus. I start downloading this video. And here's the thing. You have to download these videos secretly. And sometimes they take days. So I have this hidden and I'm just downloading it. And it's just a slow drip. It's like I'm getting molasses out of a tree. Just bloop, bloop, getting this video of Girl and Her Best Friend. I'm like, we're getting bisexual. I'm so progressive for a kid. Anyway, the video downloads. I start playing this video. I don't even know what I'm going to do with it. I'm just like, here we go. Action, lights, camera, reverse. And this video ends up being a woman on a brown couch in a dark room. I'm getting fucked by a dog. A real life dog. Okay. The dog knew what it was doing. I'm sorry that I told you guys this story, but it fucked me up and I've been carrying that trauma my entire life. of being so, my mind was blown. Okay. I can't imagine what kids now have access to. Anything you can think of. And this was before they started doing all that octopus stuff in Japan. At least it wasn't on my radar. Listen, it blew my mind, and it blew my mind for multiple reasons. I watched for probably like 30 seconds because I was like, oh, it looks like the dog's just cuddling, or, the dog knew what it was doing. It wasn't even doggy style. That's a great conspiracy debunked. It wasn't just doggy style. It knew missionary. This dog was religious. This dog was praying to the Lord because it knew it was going to hell for what it was part of. And this woman, this is what's crazy about the internet. There's a little bit of anything on this planet. Okay? The life is a spectrum. And it's crazy that if you can think of it, it's happened. And that's pretty fucked up if you stop and think about it. You guys remember Mr. Hands? That video of the guy with the horse? That was just a regular Tuesday for him. Apparently, he'd go down to the track all the time, find the big studs. Okay? If you've never seen the Mr. Hands video and you're an adult and you're cultured and like to know about the history of the internet, when you get on safe Wi-Fi, look up Mr. Hands video. Okay? Just have a trash can near you. Crazy shit on the internet. Crazy shit on the internet and what people are willing to do. Like, what's that lady doing now? I think about the timeline, she's somebody's grandmother now. And she's taking care of her grandkid. It's like, Grandma, we got a puppy. That's just going to go back in her head. And she's going to be thinking, hey, remember that one time? Not even probably for a lot of money. I fucked that pooch. You know that expression, screwed the pooch? This lady did it. It probably was about her. In the dictionary next to Urban Dictionary catchphrases, there should be a little picture of her. Okay? It's not okay what happens in the internet sometimes. All right? I don't think I ever downloaded anything like that again. I was like, nah, I'm straight. I'm straight on this. Okay? I'm going to stick to those, don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the images and magazines you find as usual. I talked to a young comic. It was actually it was good to see him because I always had wondered, before in Ventura, before COVID happened, early 2020, one of the places I would go is, I would do mics at this place called, I think it was like the Hong Kong Inn. It was like a Chinese restaurant that was bought by, that became a Mexican restaurant, and they would do a mic and everything. And there was always this kid who was like 16, 17, maybe 16 years old. And you can always tell when someone's actually writing their jokes, when they're putting in work on the craft, where you're like, okay, you're crafting jokes. You're thinking about punchlines. You're thinking about setups. You're thinking about topics. You're thinking about stuff that's relatable, and you're rehearsing, and you can see. And I saw this kid and I thought, wow, he's 16, very nice kid, and he's good. I remember seeing him and I go, if he just sticks with this 100% and doesn't quit, he's going to be very successful at that. And I never told him that. I would see him. He was very nice. His dad would go there to watch his sets and everything and drive him home. And COVID happens. There's no more stand-up. A couple years go by. I'm now living in Texas. I go back to California, do some shows. And this kid, who's now a young man, is at the show. And I literally go up and I'm like, dude, it's so good to see you. How you been? And then I told him, I remember seeing you and I thought you were really good, how much you're writing. Just keep sticking with it. You're going to be great. And it was great. Great kid, great comedian. I hope he always sticks with it because he's going to be great. Forgot his fucking name. Can you believe that? But I was talking to him. I was like, hey, I'm not around children a lot, and your age people, because he's like 18 now. And I was like, what was it like growing up with the internet? And he was like, it's fucking crazy. And I was like, were at a very early age, were you accessing crazy porn and everything like that? Cause it's like, I'm just curious, like how bad that would be for a developing brain to see all that stuff. And he was like, yeah, it was pretty fucked up. And I was like, did your parents try having restrictions and everything on the iPads and, on the computer so you couldn't get to that stuff? He was like, yeah, they tried, but I mean, I know the internet better than they do. So yeah, I could get around everything. And I'm like, ugh, crazy. But then he also told me that he would take, he's decided now where he just deletes all the social media off of his phone. So at 18 years old, there's some kids that are like self-regulating. They see the danger, and it's the greatest thing ever to see that at that young of an age, to be able to self-regulate and realize how dangerous this is and how unhealthy social media can be. It's one of the things that I've always been kind of pessimistic on. And it could be because I'm an elder millennial, and since we didn't know what it was, we weren't born with it, we didn't really know all the side effects. You know how there's always like one generation lag behind realizing how bad something is for you? It's like our generation with like smoking cigarettes. We kind of were able to skate by that one and not know how dangerous it was. The generation before us, they literally were smoking on planes and everywhere. It was like healthy to smoke cigarettes. There was doctors that if you had an ear infection would blow smoke in the kids' ears. Like that was part of it. So it's like one generation after usually is smart enough to figure out, because of that previous generation had to go through that they're able to handle it better and, stay away from cigarettes. I feel like cigarettes a lot less people smoke now. But I think it's the same thing with the internet and social media and the dangers of it. We didn't grow up with it in the sense of we had life before it. So it was almost like a new drug to us. And I think millennials probably struggle the most with the internet. If my calculations of talking to one person younger than me are correct, okay? I could publish this in a clinical study. But you also see that younger generations there have like the highest depression rate. There was a thing that I saw that high school students have more anxiety and stress and what would be deemed as psychotic break more than a psych patient from the 60s. They're dealing with more anxiety and stress and like all of that than a psych patient from the 60s, which is nuts. And it shows you how insane social media and just all this stuff is. It's the weirdest thing to constantly be under the illusion that what's happening on this phone is real life. It's crazy. It's only the best stuff. We've been saying it for years, but you still like get lost in it. And then just like there's a great podcast with Dr. Ben Greenfield. He's a neuroscientist, and he talks about even the idea of scrolling, that every time you scroll on something, it's a dopamine hit for your brain, which is why it's so addicting. And with that scroll, every time it's a dopamine hit, because your brain can't recognize that this environment change isn't happening. When you're actually walking and you go into a new room, there's a little bit of like a dopamine because you're in a new area. When you're walking in the mountains and all of a sudden you come to a forest, there's a dopamine release because it's a new surrounding, a new area. When you're on your phone, your brain can't tell the difference. So the constant change of what's happening from video to picture, everything, all these different reels and TikToks and different lights and things happening, it's not natural to be able to go into that different environment, and your brain just dopamine releases every time. And then what happens is you run through all your dopamine, and then you're just mindlessly scrolling, feeling numb and feeling almost depressed. And you have to like get away from that to like let your dopamine replenish. There's most days, I'll leave you guys with this. What am I doing? What is this, an open mic right now? Anyway, there's days, this is what works for me. The days that I wake up and I look at my phone instantly are the worst days for me. They're the worst days. What my normal schedule is, I wake up, make coffee, drink my cup of water that's mixed with glutamine, lysine, and at night I add magnesium too. I have a big cup of water. I grab that. I start drinking that. I journal a page in my book. Whatever book I'm reading at the time, I'll read, till I feel good. And I'll take my dog in the backyard, let her go out. And then I work on stand-up. No. Then I do a follow long stretch in the morning, something just to get me loose, whether it's 15 minutes, something like that. And then I'll work on stand-up for 30 minutes. I have a timer. It's just a timer that you like, one of those twist knob ones. I'll do 30 minutes of working on stand-up, whether that's like going through, I'll listen to sets from the night before, or I'll just start writing bits I want to work on, things that I know, run through sets, actually like say them out loud like a crazy person. And then, and only after then, do I look at my phone. Till then, my phone's in a drawer charging. And that usually gives me at least an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, hour 15 of time in the morning before I ever even look at a screen. Well, not at a screen, but like looking at my phone. So I'm not being, because there's nothing worse than me running my own business and, just do anything. Anybody can wake up and have bad news instantly. And then that's how your day starts. But by like doing that and like protecting the morning like that, it just like gives me such a foundation for the rest of the day to like, no matter what, I got all my big things checked off. I journaled, whether it was like getting, things out of my head. I read, so I feel accomplished with that. I stretched, so my body feels good and like I'm, going to feel better during the day. And then I did 30 minutes of stand up. What that does for me usually is it makes me feel more confident about my material. The material is getting better. And then I can go into the day knowing that I'm accomplished like that. And then I usually only check the phone for like 5-10 minutes. And then I put it away. And then I run through business stuff. I start doing emails, whatever I got to work on, and planning my day. But that's just what works for me. And then also the last thing, when you wake up and if you look at your phone instantly, there's stuff that happens in your brain. Your brain like cleans itself during the night and tries to organize thoughts and ideas that you have from the night before. So if you like, when you go to bed, if something happened and bugged you that day and you're like thinking about it, and then when you go to sleep, your brain runs through that stuff and organizes it and gives you resolution. And when you wake up in the morning, usually why you don't feel as bad about something that happened the day before is because your brain kind of organized it. And then you're able to download all that wisdom and just like kind of thinking through everything that happened. If you look at a phone and you just start wasting your dopamine and don't give your brain kind of time to level out in the morning, you start getting that stress and anxiety. Pretty crazy stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's great to be back on Mondays. It is, ladies and gentlemen. Mondays and Wednesdays. Listen, we tried the Tuesday, Thursday thing for a while. It is what it is. But ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And remember, no matter what, I still love you.